Wait for the timer.
Go,
and
man.
as promised, look at you tripping me up right out of the gate. As promised, the amazing Field Yates, one of the nicest guys in the business. And before we talk fantasy football, Field, so everybody has probably at this point seen your injury, your dislocated shoulder.
Yep.
But I don't want that to be your best sports memory. So, like, brag. What did you truck somebody so hard they forgot their mother's names? Like, I want something good for people to remember from your sports career.
Yeah, I was trying to think. So, like, I always tell my kids now that I play. They're 3 and 2, so they don't really comprehend it. But I tell them that Daddy used to play sports. Within like 10 years, I'll probably have been a Division I athlete. Within 50 years, I will probably have won the Heisman Trophy because no one will be able to tell me otherwise. I guess everything is documented now, but I wish I had more sports accolades to brag about. But sadly, that is one of the great limitations in my life.
I'm with you on that one. 1 year of football. I was like, my field division went from went from like this to super narrow. People can't see because they can't see the video, but like I got that tunnel vision and I would just like black out. So I had one series as a quarterback, one play as a running back, and then I'm like, I got to play safety and face forward because I stink.
Kicker would be a good one for the two of us.
Oh, no, ban kickers. You're off the show.
Ban your kickers. I know you want to ban your kickers. I'm not saying in fantasy. I'm just talking about in real life. You know, I mean, what a good spot for us.
Okay, that is true. All right, so let's talk actual fantasy players that matter. Right off the top, we have two big names, and I'm sure you've already talked plenty about them. I've actually seen you talking about a few of the ones that we're talking today. Yeah. But Trey Benson is the big one. And I don't want to present hey, do we start Trey Benson? Because everybody knows that at this point. I want it more as when you have a situation like this, Field, and it's your team or you're giving advice to people, and it is a Trey Benson situation. So right now we're like all speculating top 15-ish, could be an RB1. Yeah. Are you the type that says, you know what, I'm going to go field offers because if I can get RB1 value, I get the known commodity. But there's the risk that Benson doesn't look as good as he has in a timeshare. There's the risk that DeMarcado is more involved than we think he might be. Or are you just saying, this value wasn't supposed to be on my team. There's pretty much no way you're going to be able to pull him off of mine.
Yeah, sometimes the best thing for a prospect or a player is not having a ton of exposure because there's not a lot of evidence that Trey Benson just flat out cannot play in a featured role because he really hasn't ever been a featured back, right? He's only a year and 3 weeks into his NFL career. So there's an argument that if you sell Trey Benson right now and you can recoup a top 15 running back, you're doing so at potentially peak value. I don't think Trey Benson's going to break the mold and be, RB8 the rest of the way this season. But we all know the really good things he has going for him. He is going to be the guy. And even James Conner had Trey Benson there to take away some of his opportunities, which this year they were way more balanced compared to where they were last year. Benson, there is going to be somebody else. This is not going to be like Chase Brown with the Bengals last year, who handled like 100 straight opportunities from running backs. But I don't think that Amari DeMarcado is the same threat to Trey Benson as Trey Benson was to James Conner. And Conner was a guy that through 3 weeks for your ranking is somewhere between probably our running back, 13 and 20 at worst. So I probably land more on the side of I think I may have myself a new asset to work with. Let's ride it out a little bit here with Trey Benson. But I'm trying to think of a good example of somebody that is threading the needle, like somebody who's not obvious. Like here's one. And this may sound radioactive right now, but if I offer you Ashton Genty for your Trey Benson, which would you prefer the rest of the way?
I would still take the ceiling of Genty.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a thoughtful conversation, I think, if we wanted to do it for 10 minutes, right? I mean, we have some evidence that the Raiders' offensive line is the worst in the NFL, at least for run blocking purposes, and they're hardly involving him in the passing game. That being said, like, who knows? Trey Benson, maybe they only play him 55% of the snaps, and they want to keep him as much more of a part-time guy than a full-time guy. I don't think that's likely, but we don't have evidence that they are going to lean into him for 80% of the snaps.
See, I was presenting the questions. You made me think for a second there. You had the hesitation. So I want to talk two wide receivers that I'm surprised at some of the bids that I saw in Fab for these two. The Trey Tucker and Tyquan Thornton last week. So Trey Tucker, I guess we should have seen coming because it was week 3 last year. His name is Trey. Like we should have just known. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of present my cases that I've brought up on the podcast before and in the waiver and ranks articles. But so Trey Tucker he's been playing the same snap percentage and route percentage as he was last year. The targets have just seen a little bit of bump, but I still have hesitations unless Brock Bowers is the disappointing Brock Bowers, because somebody has to kind of fall off here. Thornton is a different wild animal because Xavier Worthy could be the shoulder, it could be limited playing with that all year long. And we know Rashee Rice is coming back, but this is still multiple weeks away, where I still think that Thornton has taken over kind of that Hollywood role. So I guess as a bucket kind of, are you more in on Tucker or Thornton? And then I guess the second part of that, and I know I'm not supposed to do this, you know this, we're in the industry. I'm not supposed to shotgun a question at you, but I think you can handle it, Field, are you more in on Tucker or Thornton? And then do you think both potentially are kind of overvalued because of how big their weeks 3 are?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in, and this is going to be a little bit long-winded, I'm a big believer in the idea that there are certain players that are 17-game or 18-week values, right? Like we expect Jahmyr Gibbs for the entire season, as long as he's healthy, to be one of the 5 best running backs in all of fantasy football. I also believe we have like pocket players, what I call them, guys that for 3 to 4 weeks, or maybe more optimistically, 4 to 6 weeks, can really alter the landscape of your roster. It's possible that, and this is the first example that comes to mind for me, Juwan Johnson might be in that pocket category right now. I'm not totally sold that Juwan Johnson's going to be, for 18 weeks, a top 8 tight end. He is actually tight end 2 going into week 4, but he's playing so much. They play so fast. They've got nobody besides Chris Olave and him. So maybe he does cling to value, but if week 8 we're not talking about Juwan Johnson as a top 10 tight end, I don't think you or I will be completely and utterly shocked, right? This was not a guy that was generating much buzz coming into the season. So I look at both the Tyquan Thornton and Trey Tucker as a clear pocket players. For Thornton, though, the pocket could be a lot smaller, right? Maybe on Sunday Xavier Worthy plays, and I know that the intimations have already been he's going to play for a short period, a limited role. Maybe limited means 50% of the snaps in week 4 and then 100% of the snaps in week 5. If that's the case, then I don't think the Tyquan Thornton is going to be cracking lineups, maybe 16-team leagues, but definitely not 10 or 12-team leagues. And a lot of it is vertical, right? And vertical shots down the field, while awesome when they pay off, are not nearly as effective, or I should say efficient, as, dump off and let the guy do the work as a PPR receiver. Trey Tucker has me slightly more intrigued, not because I'm convinced he is definitely going to be a thing, but the Raiders, the Brock Bowers thing is real right now. There's just no way that Brock can be this substandard if he's not dealing with a real legitimate knee injury. I know that they're downplaying it and he's still playing. His route participation numbers are in line with where they were last season. Michael Mayer's now dealing with an injury, concussion. So maybe Brock plays even more snaps wise in week 4. And the other thing that I would say about Trey Tucker is that Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy don't hang over his head. Am I confident that he's going to be even wide receiver 34 when he is currently for the year wide receiver 4? I wouldn't say I'm confident in that, but if you made me choose between the two, I would lean towards Trey Tucker. But then some of the bids were just out of control, right?
Yeah, I saw somebody going 30-40% in one of my leagues, and I'm like, woo. Either one of them. I mean, we're kind of – actually, you know what? I'm going to pivot to the next question. I was originally going to ask you a different one, but we'll come back to it. I wrote up, and I was talking about how unlikely it is that Luther Burden continues this. And the reason I brought it up is I went back deep on this one, and I found a lot of examples to go back to basically field on turf wasn't even one of those situations, but wide receivers – all seeing over 1,000 yards. And we go back to the Anquan Bolden year with Steve Breston, but Bolden also missed games that year. Yeah. So to go back even further, all these times of just 900 plus yards often involved a tight end, not even 3 wide receivers. You have to go back to the 1990s Titans to find a team where 3 wide receivers playing essentially a full season all had 1,000 yards. So I'm presenting that all to say everybody's going crazy for Luther Burden. And we know the talent is there. We know the talent coming out of college, and we know it's the Ben Johnson offense, which is starting to really click with Caleb Williams. And, of course, everybody's like, well, this means more Luther Burden because DJ Moore has just been kind of out there. Yeah. Do you side with, hey, let me go stash Burden because I do think he could come for DJ Moore's job, or look at the reality of what we just saw, which was a season high, 30% of the snaps and routes for Luther Burden and say, you can't all three have value. Like somebody has to fall to the wayside. And I brought this up, Field, too, is like everybody's like, well, look at the Chargers. And I said, actually, yeah, look at the Chargers. Ladd McConkey is the one that's fallen to the wayside. He's wide receiver 48 right now. So somebody has to take a back seat. So where do you fall in this whole Burden, DJ Moore situation?
Yeah, so Luther Burden is a very exciting prospect. He'd be a lot more exciting if the Bears traded DJ Moore, which some have speculated on, as DJ has taken a backseat to Rome Odunze through 3 weeks as the wide receiver one. That's now Rome's job, at least for now, it seems. And by the way, he's played awesome. Rome is the man. So holding on to Luther Burden just in case the Bears trade DJ Moore, to me, is a bit fleeting. If you do hold on to him and they keep DJ Moore, are we talking about rookie season Jameson Williams, where there's going to be 6 entrants into the SportsCenter top 10 plays for Luther Burden III, but he also might have 22 catches all season? The talent was obvious in week 3, but 3 catches for 101 yards, was that 65 of which came off of a flea flicker? Not to me a formula to sustain. I'm totally cool with adding high pedigree and high upside players to your bench. I was not moving mountains personally for Luther Burden last night on waivers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually think this is one of those rare cases where it seems obvious to people when you pick somebody up and then immediately try to trade them. But that feels like one where you might be able to do it just because of the excitement around the talent. All right, 2 more questions and then a fun one to get you out of here.
All right.
We all saw the news. Jaxson Dart, he's taken over. It was a very short window for Russell Wilson. A lot of this obviously has to do with Brian Dable and the jobs over there. But Jaxson Dart obviously draws some similarities to their former quarterback, Daniel Jones, and even some of Drake May, where if we're talking fantasy purposes, hey, the rushing can offset things, but he comes right out of the gate to face that matchup with the Chargers. What's your outlook for Jaxson Dart? More so, not for him. It's a single quarterback league, so obviously we can play that speculative high-end QB2 if you want to risk it. But do you think this is necessarily 100% positive for Malik Nabers and Wan'Dale Robinson, or is this a potential sell-high situation for Nabers and Wan'Dale in the fact that what if it's bad? What if he's throwing 200 yards a game and 1 touchdown at best?
Yeah, I really wish Wan'Dale had a better week in week 3 to actually sell high there, whether they made a change at quarterback or not. I think what will be really interesting for Malik Nabers and his utilization going forward is right now going into week 4, Malik Nabers ranks 4th in average depth of target in the NFL. It's 16.8. He was 50th in that category last year. I would love it if the Giants played Malik Nabers much more like last season. And that's not just the fantasy side of me saying it. It's actually the reality side of me saying that too. The offense is stuck in the mud right now. They had 1 good game against what might be the worst defense in the NFL. Cowboys or Dolphins are kind of, fighting for that honor right now. So to me, if I'm the Giants, I'm thinking long and hard about finding ways to pepper Malik with the football a little bit more. You got a young quarterback. What's the old sort of adage with young quarterbacks? You do things to make things easy on the quarterback early, right? It's the designed rollout to a running back in the flat or screens or wide receiver screens. So I'm hoping that Malik Nabers' value steadies going forward. Obviously, week 2 was ridiculous. What was he, wide receiver 2 for the week? Which that's possible for Nabers any week. I would be happy if it's he floats, somewhere in that top, his bad weeks are more like wide receiver 23 going forward, as opposed to wide receiver 1,000 or whatever it was last week. Yeah.
So last one before we get it. So this is a strategy one for everybody out there. I often talk about this, and I'm hey, you have to agree with me, but players coming back from suspension and injury, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, maybe head down this path, and the fact that obviously people are excited, but it often presents, I think, a selling opportunity because similar to what we were talking about with Trey Benson, it's always people who have in their mind best case scenario. And then what if they're not 100%? What if they're eased in? Chris Godwin might be returning this week. Do you see it the same way as in hey, you know what? The week I have this guy and he's coming back from either of those scenarios, I'm going to field all the offers I can because, again, to go back to the Benson, you might be getting the peak value and you've eliminated all that risk that you would carry on your team.
It is definitely dependent upon the player. So to use the 2 Chiefs receivers, I'm holding my powder on Rashee Rice. Not only is the weight, I think, longer because it sounds like Worthy has a chance to play this upcoming Sunday. I just think Rashee Rice is a better player. Last year, to begin the season, Rashee Rice was incredible. Worthy was really solid down the stretch last year, had the huge numbers in the Super Bowl when they were getting their butts kicked. I think Xavier Worthy's success last year felt a little more about circumstances than Rashee Rice's production in the past, right? Like I think Rashee Rice was circumstances. Every player has circumstances. His circumstances plus his talent. Worthy is really, really talented. I feel like Rashee Rice has a better chance to be the guy that just carries consistent value going forward. So I could do it on Worthy. I'm also like a little nervous about Xavier Worthy this week, like limit, unless we get, I would love for an Adam Schefter report on Sunday morning, like, hey, he's expected to play 75% of the snaps, 25% of the snaps, right? But like, if the number hovers around 50, that right there can be a real trap in fantasy football.
A huge one. All right. So 2 fun things. I was going to do one, but I want to do one that actually might blow up in my face because you're way too fit and you might say it might be a 0 answer, but my fun rankings this week were the top 10 ice cream truck treats when we were growing up. Number 1 for me was all those characters with the bubblegum eyes. Did you have a favorite or were you like, you were already on the gym and working out and all the kids were at the
I had an answer. So listen, I have a sweet tooth. On top of that, I got 2 young kids. We love the ice cream truck, especially in the summertime, right? And we're holding on to some great weather up here in Connecticut in September so far. Choco Taco is the winner, though.
Love some Choco Taco. Choco Taco is actually number 2 for me. So there you go.
Better, right. So Choco Taco is number 1. My kids are very into the characters because, of course, they are into the characters. So definitely like the little gumball eyes are a huge hit. Rocket Pops, what are they? The red, white, and blue popsicles are a big smash as well. Not for me. My kids, they'll love it. So what I end up doing is, this is, classic parenting hack here, is I actually took my kids yesterday. They have been off for school both yesterday and today because of Rosh Hashanah. And in the afternoon, I took my kids out for frozen yogurt. And you just go and get one for each of them because they're not going to finish it. Right?
You're going to get the leftovers for both.
Yeah, correct. And I'm not like we get ice cream all the time. We were just at this brand new play space near where I live. It happened to be right next to one of those froyo spots where you get to put the toppings on. So I'm not, parents out there that may hear this, I'm not like anti-ice cream or anything. I don't like, suppress my kids' opportunities. It just happened to be the closest thing to where we were leaving at that time.
That's fine. All right. And what I call the Nando Fino special. This is the pick your poison before we get out of here. These are your 3 choices, Field. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So you have to pick one. The first one is you have to sell Chase Brown, but for low RB2 value.
Okay.
So you're bailing. You have to buy Rome Odunze, but you're paying first round value, and so you fully believe. Okay. Or the last one is every time you get delivery food, you have to tip $0, but look the guy dead in the face when you take the order from him at your door.
Oh, man. I'm going with selling Chase Brown. If I can get low-end RB2 value for Chase Brown, I'd take it right now.
That worried.
Yeah, man. I mean, 2 yards per carry, an offense that's just going to be really, really mid for much of the season, if not all of the season, because of Joe Burrow's injury. Rome has been awesome. He's been exceptional. And if I could get Rome Odunze for Ashton Genty, I would do it. But not any other first-round picks. Am I saying? Maybe not my oh my God, I am so panicked. I need to trade this player for Rome Odunze.
All right. Did the back ear start to get that sweat going up as you heard the third one? Because when I wrote it, I was like, could you imagine looking the person in the face and being like, yeah, I tipped you $0.
Oh God, I just it pains me to even think about it. But God, man. Well, now everywhere you go, by the way, you can order literally you can order.
Oh, they flip the tablet around. Is that what you're about to talk about?
Not with that, but you could go somewhere you could walk in to a pizza joint that has hot slices available, right? You could walk in. You could be the only person in the restaurant, so there's no wait. You could walk in, say, can I have one slice of pizza? They will give you one slice of pizza, which literally requires them to reach their hand to the right or the left, grab a slice of pizza, put it on a plate, and hand it right back to you. And they'll ask for a tip, which my general feeling is fine, go for it, right? But we've got now where I just assume I'm tipping on everything, right? It's $1.10 charge for whatever. Again, I mentioned I have 2 young kids. One lollipop. Here's an extra $1. So $1 lollipop becomes a $2 lollipop. Whatever it takes.
I saw, I won't say the place, but it's one where it's like a Walgreens.
Okay.
And it was just picking up the online order and handed it to me. And it was they spun it around and there was the tip thing. I was like, really? Like, I guess I'm putting $1 in because I want to be that guy. But before you get out of here, it's not like I'm telling anybody they don't need to know, because if anybody's doing fantasy, they know Field Yates. But promote yourself. Tell everybody, like, obviously the fantasy focus and everything.
Yeah, if you guys want to hang out with us when you're not listening or reading Jake, come on over at 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. We're all on ESPN's YouTube page and, of course, wherever you get your podcasts. So myself, Daniel Dopp, Stefania Bell, Mike Clay, we have a lot of fun. Try to get you as much as we can throughout the week before Sundays, which Fantasy Football Now is 10 a.m. Eastern time to 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is always a ton of fun as well.
It is a fun show to watch. I watch it as well. And yeah, one of the best in the industry, top 5. If you somehow came to this podcast and don't know who Field is, rectify it right now. We appreciate it, man.
My friend.